people come in. Okay, we've got some people filtering through. Hi, everyone. Give us a minute to get some people coming in. Oh, Jenny and B, we've got our moderators here. Eleanor, Lisa. Wow, we've got loads of you joining. I feel like Miss Kim, I don't know if in the UK you guys had Miss Kim. B would, I'm sure, know what I'm talking about because it's also a very Newcastle thing, but it was a kids show called Romper Room. No. And she used to say at the end, she'd hold up a mirror and I can see Lisa and Kylie and Michael and Jim. I feel very much like Miss Kim. I can see Jodie and Linda and Maria and Megan, Pam, Cheryl. Hey guys. Oh, we've got the chat. Okay. Oh my God. B was on Romper Room.
No.
When she was 4. I couldn't do Romper Room. So many of my friends did Romper Room and I was just not that kid that would perform for anyone. My mum, I remember saying when I was older, I was like, why didn't you put me on Romper Room? Everyone else has a Romper Room video. And she was like, you wouldn't do anything. You would just go, no. Oh, one and only TV debut. That's fantastic. I love it. Okay, well, we've got loads joining this morning. So welcome everyone. Pop in the chat and let us know where you're from, what part of the world you're in. That also, I'm assuming most people are either UK or Australia. They're the 2 time zones that it seems to work for doing it at this time of day. Of course, we will be recording it for those unable to attend and we'll be posting that later. Oh, we've got South Africa. We've got Jenny in Melbourne, London, Cork in Ireland. Lovely. We've got people from everywhere. Rainy Stratfordshire. Yeah, it's rainy out here as well. So the way this morning is going to work, we have fantastic Katie here, Katie VA, and we're down Erica because unfortunately Erica is not well. So if you were at one of our previous VA panels, you will have seen Erica before, and I'm sure she'll be on with us at another time to do a session, but she is getting some much needed rest at the moment. So thank you, B, for reminding everyone to turn on your all panelists and attendees switch in the chat because I always forget to do that and I end up sending messages to only all panelists wondering why everyone can't see them. And so what we're going to do today is it's going to kind of be a rapid fire style with the questions that have already been submitted. We'll go through those quickly and then you can also, while we're doing the chat, please feel free to pop in your questions and I'll go through as many of those as we can get through before we wrap up. But we're going to take about 20 to 30 minutes before we're all done. So thanks everyone. And are we ready to start, Katie?
I'm ready.
Actually, there's one more thing I do need to tell you. We did get a bunch of either US-based questions or legal questions around setting up LLCs, corporations, tax questions. We're not doing that kind of advice. It's not something that we're able to provide in this sort of a forum, but we are going to be doing an event that I'm working on that is more geared towards our US friends. So we'll do that at a time zone that is more accommodating to a US time as well, but we'll get some people in from the States who will be able to provide better information on that than I certainly could. But we're also steering away from the legal questions. So we'll go into that as we're talking about it. But if you submitted a question that was about setting up a corporation or something like that, that's why we're not addressing that today. And we'll look into doing something around that in the future. But thanks so much for joining us, Katie. We are going to kick off. First question, freelance, contractor, employee, or agency, which is best and why?
I don't think there is a best and why. I think it depends on the circumstance. Contractors generally get engaged for a specific project and a specific time frame. As a freelancer, you can dip in and dip out and provide your services to multiple clients. Agency, you're obviously an employee of the agency, they're responsible for paying you. So I think to all intents and purposes, if you're setting up your own virtual assistant business, you set yourself up and you are a freelancer where you are in control, you are invoicing your client directly. And that's really where my experience comes from. So I think you need to take it on a project by project basis and just really sort of make a decision based on what's best for you and that specific client or that project.
Excellent. So question 2, this is a bit how long is a piece of string, but how much does it cost to start a VA business?
Yeah, do you know, it's one of my most popular questions. So I always say anything from zero to about £2,500. And the reason that it is that sort of wide in terms of spread is it all depends on what you currently have available to you. So the things that you need to think about investing are a really good laptop, good internet infrastructure, and a mobile phone, those 3 pieces of technology. But in addition to that, there are certain things that you do need to have in place. Insurance is a really good one, and you must make sure that your home insurance covers you to work from home as well. So from a very basic point of view, I would say you need to set aside about 500 quid for things like insurance, ICO registration if it's applicable to you, and what was the last thing I was going to think of? Oh, if you need to download contracts, agreements and terms, they can cost anything from 40 quid to 100 quid. So I would say 500 quid is a minimum, and then probably up to 2.5 grand.
Do I need a website? I'm just going to
No.
go, yes.
I'm
all about the website, but go.
In my opinion, no, you don't. It is not a necessity. It is, personally, it's a nice to have. It just makes selling your services and your business easier. It is your shop window to you and your business. So it is a fantastic support tool. However, it should not and does not need to stop you from going out and setting up your business.
Absolutely. I know with a couple of businesses, and certainly not VA businesses that I've had, I think it's really easy to get excited about the website because it's exciting and it's fun and you're working on it and it's pretty, but it can actually stop you from doing the things that actually matter. And it's really easy to get caught up in colors and logos and fonts and business cards, and because we're excited about those things. And I mean, EA How To was going for, I think, 10 months before I did the website, which was too long. I could have done it before that, but I think it also gave me time to work out what EA How To was.
I think that's so true.
You know,
I think there is so much that changes from day one to day 365 that actually there's a benefit to spending time not having a website, because you're going through your journey and then you have a story to tell on your website. So I would say you don't have to, but by all means, if you are a techie whiz and really enjoy doing that sort of thing and can create a website in a couple of hours without it being too much of a headache, then go for it. But I would say don't make it a hang up.
Yeah, I would agree. Certainly don't let it stop you from starting just because you don't have a website ready. Get going, and it's the kind of thing that can come later. I enjoy doing websites, and I look at it from, when you're purchasing something, when I'm purchasing something, the first thing we do is go, okay, let's have a look at the website. Does it give us an indication of fees or how they work or what kinds of services they provide? But don't let that stop you from starting. And I agree with Katie, there's a benefit to not having it initially, because I know even at the moment I have aliciafairclough.com and I've taken that down for now, because I this year finally have started to wind down my business that I had previously, well before I was an EA, and all of the stuff on aliciafairclough.com was relevant to that, and old YouTube channels and old things that I was doing, and so EA How To.com came along about 10 months after I started EA How To, and now I have an idea and I know where we're going and I know what it is, because initially what EA How To started as is very different to what EA How To is now
today.
So I think don't get caught up in the stuff that doesn't matter when you could already be working.
Yeah.
So the next question, what job seeking platforms are there for VAs?
I'm just actually going to interrupt because Cheryl Bell is asking a really good question here about how do you promote yourself without a website? Cheryl, there are thousands of things that you can do without having a website. Social media doesn't require you to have a website. You need to engage and start talking to people who you already know, develop your own referral network. A website absolutely does not stop you from promoting your business or selling your services.
Excellent.
Agencies.
Oh yeah, agencies, that's right.
I'm going to hold my hands up here and say I genuinely don't know. I've been lucky enough to develop all of my business through either my own referral network or people coming directly to me. So I've never actually had to go down the agency route. So I simply don't have the knowledge and experience to be able to answer this one. I'm sorry.
Perfect. I think that's really good for people to know that that not everybody uses an agency. I am actually in touch with a couple of agencies looking at doing an event similar to this so that we can find out how they work, what the benefits are, you know, because obviously there's all different kinds of EA work, and much like anything, I mean, you look at a nanny agency, the pros and cons of working for a nanny agency. The pro is that you don't have to do any of the finding of the clients. You don't have to go and, you know, sort out the paperwork yourself. They do the background, they do all of it for you, but you make less money because they're taking a cut from that. There's a process, you know, for getting in there. And the services they provide are often quite different to maybe what you specialize in as well. So we'll look at doing an event with an agency to understand that.
And I do think that there is a benefit with engaging with agencies. I mean, one of the things that I talk about is engaging with an agent is a really good way of picking up those sort of smaller projects, which are the sort of hours, maybe a couple of hours, because generally an agency will send a temporary staff member out for a minimum project, which is half a day, but they'll have clients who want an hour here, a couple of hours there. So actually a virtual assistant would be the perfect person to fill their gap on their books for those types of projects. So I think a session on agencies would be really helpful.
Next one, speaking about services, what services should I offer?
This is such a great question. I love that it's really open-ended as well. Okay, my rule of thumb on services that you offer are number one, offer services that you have 100% confidence in your ability to deliver. Don't try and sell yourself as a social media administrator if you have absolutely no experience of doing social media. It's really important, that one, because otherwise you are constantly going to be on the back foot in terms of delivery. So focus on those services that you have experience and confidence in delivering. The second thing, and this is probably as important as the first, focus on the things that you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy doing them, the likelihood is that you will be delivering a really, really good service, because you will love every second of delivering it. So if you don't like doing diary management, don't offer it. If you love inbox management, absolutely add it up there as your kind of top service, but focus on the things that you love doing. Focus on the things that you have skills and experience in doing. Do not try and be a jack of all trades, master of none. You will trip yourself up and you will not enjoy the journey.
What are some examples of some of the most common services that VAs are asked for?
I think this day and age, it is diary management and inbox management. Those would be the two things that I think are absolutely almost assumed as services that you would offer, actually. Right. Rather than necessarily going out to buy. But the things that, in my experience, people are being asked to do constantly over and over again is diary and inbox.
This is related to a question that Cheryl's asking in the group again now. Do you get many requests for social media management?
Yeah, I think more and more and more and more. I think most businesses are looking at social media really carefully at the moment. it's always been a nice to have, and has always been something that people are using just to sort of support their new business development. I think there's more and more onerous on social media to almost take over from their new business development and engagement particularly. So yeah, social media is absolutely key. And I'm going to be really honest here, I'm rubbish at it, and I don't enjoy it, and I don't understand it. So I don't offer it as a service. And if anybody's out there who's any good, I really need some help with mine.
So one thing that I've noticed is it really depends on the company. Some companies take social media very seriously and will hire a full-time social media manager. And, you know, if you're a big enough company and you're doing social media properly across all platforms, it is absolutely a full-time job. There's no doubt about that. A lot of companies see it as, like you said, kind of a nice to have. We like to keep it updated so people know, but it's not the driver of their business. They're not, or they don't understand it. So they're wondering, you know, why some other people say that they get business from Facebook or something, and they're like, we post on Facebook, but they don't have a strategy.
And I think that's a really good point. I think the businesses that aren't actually putting a focus on it now will be playing catch up in about 6 to 12 months time. So I think there'll be a lot of, you know, social media that will kind of come in through those organizations who aren't actually doing it at the moment. Cheryl's also asking about whether or not the social media experience and not having it is a disadvantage. No, it's not, Cheryl, because if you're not offering it as a service because it's something that you don't have experience in, then it's fine. You market yourself with the experiences and the skills that you have. If you've got bookkeeping, fantastic. There are plenty of people who are wanting virtual assistants to do bookkeeping. Yeah,
I've just posted a link in the chat with shameless self-promotion alert, because this relates to something that I released this week, which was the LinkedIn. It's kind of LinkedIn how to, and how I did EA how to, and we went from 0 followers to 15,000 members in it was a little under 10 months. And so I've been asked about this so often. I have another YouTube channel that's got around 50,000 subscribers that I'm winding down actually and not continuing. So I've done this a few times, and people are always, how do you do it? How do you do it? And there is a way to do it. And people kept asking me for a course, and a course to me felt like it felt disingenuous for me to offer a course, because I didn't feel that a course implies that it's at least a few hours worth of work and much more polished. And I just sat down and wrote down what I did, and it was 25 minutes of me going, this is literally step by step. I broke it down into 10 parts and went, these 10 things are what I did, and they're repeatable. You can do them. Anyone can do these 10 things. So I broke it down, and it took 25 minutes, and I filmed it, and I made it for the Gin Lounge. And if you're not a member of the Gin Lounge, I'll post a link in there as well, but it's free for members of the Gin Lounge, or you can purchase it if you don't want to join the Gin Lounge and just want to buy the one-off social media. This one's a focus on LinkedIn. I might do other social media platforms later, but it really does apply to most social media platforms anyway, the information there.
That would be my weekend activity then.
There you go, you're sorted. So moving on from that one, how did you get your first clients?
I was really lucky. Mine came through my own referral network. And again, actually, it's something that I focus on quite a lot in my coaching and mentoring, is about designing and developing and working your own referral network. So this is basically people who you already know, you may have worked with historically, and you start talking to them about what you're doing, and they basically become your business development team. So that's how I got my first client.
What hardware will I need?
Okay, so I'm a Luddite, and I literally, all I have is a really, really good high spec laptop and a mobile phone. That's it, no more.
Printer scanner?
Yeah, color 3-in-1.
Okay. This is a really good question about charging. How should I charge for my services? Retainer, by the hour?
Okay, so I actually take this on a project by project basis. I charge on an hourly rate for what I call ad hoc, small bitty projects, okay? Everything else I try and do with my clients, I do on a retainer basis. So they're basically buying me for a certain number of hours on a monthly basis. However, I think you always need to be flexible, and I think you need to take each client as an individual and work it from there. Minimum £25 an hour. I know that there'll be some gasps out there, but the Society of Virtual Assistants are working really hard to try and get the recognition that our professional environment basically deserves. So they say £25, and I wholeheartedly support that.
And you're not being paid holidays and sick pay and all of that kind of stuff. You know, you're doing your own tax, you're doing your own everything. So you have to factor all of that in if you're going to be freelancing. And contractor rates should be significantly higher, and you need to understand the value you're bringing to the business. Think about, depending on what services you're providing, how much time and money are you saving them by you doing this? So, you know, factor all of those things in. That comes to the next question, which is, what should I charge for my services? And
£25 an hour
at least.
So there's a sort of bit, there's a bit of a metric that I go through again with my coaching and mentoring on this, which is really, you know, you need to sit down and work out how much you need to earn. And when I say need, that is your mortgage, your rent, your electricity, your mobile phone bill, any other debt, you know, all of those things need to be accounted for. So you work from what you need to earn, and then you literally break that down, and it'll give you an hourly rate from there.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you manage and prioritize multiple clients?
Structure. Absolutely. I structure my day down to almost when I can go for a wee. It's not quite that bad, but so I structure everything, and I keep very, very open communication lines with all of my clients in terms of when I am available to do whatever it is that I'm doing for them. Some clients I actually even schedule into my week. So I have two clients, one who I always work for between 9:30 and 12:30 on a Monday, another client who I do the same thing on a Wednesday with. So I literally put them into my calendar. I start early in the morning, I clear inboxes, I keep a to-do list, which is basically my to-do list, and it is red, amber, green in terms of priority. And I then run all of that in the morning, and then I leave the rest of the day clear for the sort of project and the deliverable stuff. I always know what my timescales are, and that is vital. And then my last thing at the end of the day is checking inboxes, updating to-do lists, and the last thing I do every day is back up my data.
Okay, perfect. Wow. Do you use apps like Asana and Slack, and how have you found them?
No.
Nope. And I think that also, that's going to depend on what your clients use and whether or not they require you to use them. I know some companies will say, yes, your VA will give you access to our Slack channel or something like that. But the little bit of freelance work that I've ever done, I haven't needed to use those things. Lisa's commenting about businesses wanting to cut costs now by not renting offices, and that's really true. I think this is going to be a huge boom if we can finally find one good thing maybe to come out of this year. Yes. It's probably that there will be a big boom for the virtual assistant community, and I think there's two reasons for that. One is that more and more companies that were still operating in a very traditional way are understanding that assistants can work remotely, and they do work every bit as effectively remotely as they do if they're in the office, sometimes more because they don't have the distractions. But also, sorry, I've just completely lost my train of thought where we were going with that. I love it when that happens. But also, the cost cutting, that not all companies these days, given the current situation, can afford to have a full-time EA. And so a lot of them are going to be going, how can we cut costs by just outsourcing the few things that we need to do?
Absolutely.
And you've got a bigger pool of people doing that.
Absolutely.
Some people are saying in the group, I don't think you need to get hung up on an app. You can do so much with Office 365. And I know, Katie, you're a big fan of saying exactly
I'm also
that.
a big fan of Fiona.
Oh, it's Fiona. There we go. That makes sense. There we go.
Yeah, I am. So in terms of everything that I do, I have a Microsoft 365 professional account, and I literally do everything in that. It's got Teams, it's got OneDrive, it's got all of the word processing and tools that you need. It's got OneNote, which is brilliant for sort of to-do lists, etc. You know, you just have everything there. I think there was another question earlier on from Cheryl about Mac or Microsoft. Excuse me. I'm Cheryl. I'm a absolute Microsoft diva. I love Microsoft. I've never gone down the Mac route. I have clients who have Macs, and it frustrates the pants off me.
So I have both, and I've always been Mac for personal and PC for work, because most things are Microsoft based. For EA How To, I use G Suite, and for all of my other work, I use Microsoft. That being said, on my personal Mac now, I have also downloaded 365.
Yeah.
So I think, again, don't get too caught up on it, but probably if you want if you haven't got anything and you're wondering what is most common for most people, I would say PC for VA kind of work, for sure.
Definitely.
We're going to take a really quick moment for Katie to give us a bit of a overview of the kinds of services she offers for coaching for those of you who are looking for that. And then we're going to wrap up with the last few questions in the Q&A.
Okay. Brilliant. So I started my own virtual assistant business back in 2012, and earlier this year developed my own coaching and mentoring program. What I'm really doing is I'm sharing my experience to deliver a really practical 4-stage coaching program, which is then supported with 6 mentoring sessions. My aim is to get anybody who is aspiring or an emerging VA up and running faster, more efficiently and more effectively than if you were going it alone. My assumption is that you are committed, you want to do it, etc. But I will basically get you to the point where you are engaging with your first customers and up and running throughout that coaching and mentoring program. And there are lots of practical exercises. There is homework that I would expect you to do, but I will get you up and running and kind of running your business, and I will then hold your hand through the mentoring. You can either engage for the whole coaching and mentoring in one lump, you can buy the sessions individually, you know, but get in touch. I'd be delighted to help, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And the relationships that I've built with the girls that have kind of coached and mentored so far has very definitely been lasting, and they've become really good mates.
Have EA How To members who found you through the first panel session we did when we first met, and everybody is always raving about this. Essentially, what you're investing in is you're learning all of those things that Katie has already learned and spent a long time learning, and you're benefiting from all of that knowledge, so you're not having to make those early mistakes that and you know, wondering what you're going to be doing and how to do things. You've got all of that expert knowledge there.
And to all intents and purposes, I've kind of made the mistakes, so I'm hoping that by kind of sharing my experience, I will, you know, wherever possible, prevent you from making similar mistakes, and just so that, you know, you feel confident about running your own business, because that in itself is a whole new different set of skills. You know, you can be the best executive assistant, personal assistant in the whole wide world, but you've never run your own business. You know, that's all new, but I will help you get there and help you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve.
There's one thing that I've seen pop up in a couple of the groups a lot lately, and that is people getting really excited about setting up their VA business because they think that that means that they don't work for anyone anymore. And that could not be further from the truth, as in you don't have one set employer, and you know, there are many benefits to that, obviously, but you are providing a service, and all of us are always working for someone. The CEO is working for the board. You know, we all answer to someone. And so
and ultimately running your own your own business, you are the boss of you. I mean, you have to be really
harder in many ways. much harder
Absolutely.
in many ways.
You've got to be tough on yourself. You've got to drive yourself. You've also kind of really got to nurture and look after those clients. You know, you've got to love what you do to be able to get out of the bed every morning and do it.
No one
Again, going back to
to
focusing
do
on
it.
the services. Yeah, exactly. If you focus on the services that you love doing, then it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, no, I love it, and I have never ever looked back, and I am enormously grateful for the opportunity that I got back in 2012 to get this up and running. And yeah, I really love it, and the coaching and mentoring stuff is just an absolute bonus. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky.
You're sounding like me with EA how to. I'm starting, I prefer doing EA how to now. Can I just do this? Yeah. We have a couple more minutes before we need to wrap up. There are 2 questions in the Q&A that I can answer really quickly. Jenny has asked, do you need to have a .uk and a .com or any other, or any, sorry, other more than one domains? Always try and get the .com. That is the most important one. Even if you need to change your business name to get the .com is far more valuable than anything else. If you can buy the .com and the .uk or .co.uk, then you can buy it and you can have the domain direct to the .com. So you can just have it so that when somebody puts in, you know, Jenny's VA business .uk, it automatically goes to .com. But I highly recommend coming up with something short and simple and always getting the .com. That's do everything you can.
I am, yeah, I've got ktva.com, but I also own the .co.uk, the .net, and something else. I can't remember.
And
what
they
it
all
is.
redirect, I assume, to the one
Yeah.
ktva.com. Yeah. Linda's asking, in what capacity is social media used apart from tweeting and posting company news? One thing I do for TruePhone is I'm the YouTube channel. So at TruePhone, we had a massive launch recently relating to Apple at the most recent Apple event. We were the company that set up family sharing for the Apple Watch. And so that was something that needed a lot of social media. We also have a lot of content on LinkedIn. So lots of VAs are being asked to manage not just a company LinkedIn page, but their boss's LinkedIn profile. I know lots of VAs these days are, when you get a response from the CEO on LinkedIn, you're getting a response from the EA managing that, or the comms department managing the CEO's LinkedIn profile. Facebook, it could also be ads if you are dipping into marketing. I know a few VAs who specialize in marketing, and that's becoming huge because I know lots about running LinkedIn and YouTube channels and things like that, but I don't know lots about running ad campaigns. That's a very, very niche and highly in demand service. So if you do know about that, that's something that lots of companies are willing to pay for these days, running YouTube ads, running Facebook ads, doing sponsored posts, those kinds of things. So that's the sort of stuff on social media.
And I think also social media really for any of us using it is sort of selling our services. It's really about telling the story of you. You know, it's sort of painting a picture in your prospect client's mind as to how you can help and give them demonstrable examples of what you've done or how you can help, because actually I think people engage with that.
This relates to Laura's question in the Q&A. An issue I'm coming across is the trust factor. How do you build trust when pitching to potential clients? And a huge way of building trust is by having a really great reputation on social media and having a big profile. That's something that I talk about in the LinkedIn session that I posted in the comments, is that one of the biggest benefits of having a big profile is that you become a trusted brand in and of yourself. So there's less convincing. So if you don't have a big presence, what do you recommend, Katie, in terms of building trust with people that you work with or potential clients?
It's a rid, you know, it's such a tricky one. So testimonials, I think, really help. If you've got people who can tell stories about working with you, I think that's great. I think if you can get people to reference directly through telephone conversations, I think that also really helps. In terms of actually building trust directly with your client to start with, I think it's really hard work. So what I suggest is regular either Zoom like this, face-to-face catch-ups, and really try and get to know your client. I also try and get everybody that is engaging with a client to do that face-to-face on a Zoom and have proper conversations about getting to know each other. And I actually just work really hard about communicating with people right from the very outset. The more you communicate, the more you get to know each other, the better the relationship becomes and the trust builds. And it becomes a proof in the pudding. You know, if you're delivering consistently good services, the trust levels will automatically go up.
This one might be a bit tricky to answer in the next couple of minutes, Karen. Karen is asking, which is the most common way of diary management? For example, sharing calendars and inboxes with new clients. She's new to this.
Okay, so most of my sharing is with so I will always have access to my client's diary, and most of my clients are using Microsoft 365, so it's literally just dialing in, you know, logging in, and you instant access. Quite a lot of them are using G Suite as well now, so, and G Suite seems to be sort of moving in to be really popular in terms of calendar sharing and working virtually. So is that answering the question, or have I completely misunderstood?
I feel like also have a look on the EA How To YouTube channel. I've got some stuff on there. Ask in the Facebook group for sure. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, then certainly join. It's facebook.com/groups/EA How To, because we have lots of content in there about diary and inbox management, and we do Q&As and things like that too.
Yeah.
So have a look around there.
And so most of my clients will just give me access directly to their inboxes and calendars, or it's a shared permission and I'm invited to share it. That's kind of just sort of standard, really. Certainly if you're an EA or PA, you've done that for years.
I'm not sure either of us will know the answer to this, but do you think the VA business is more popular and accepted in European and American countries than in Asian countries? I don't know if you do a lot of work for Asian companies or anything like that. I know lots of VA businesses based in Asia that do work for various people around the globe. And I think a lot of Asian countries, I've dealt with, for example, Japan a lot, and they're a lot more traditional, and certainly I think will be one of the last to pick up on
I agree.
VA business. I think they'll want executive assistants in the office and everyone in the office a lot longer than everybody else. So hard to say. Do you do much work for Asian countries?
I used to have one Hong Kong client, but no, I don't anymore. And actually, Hong Kong was quite a traditional environment, so it was quite unusual. But it was the UK, owned by UK Brit. I do think that the market is most mature in the US, from my knowledge and my experience. You know, a virtual assistant in America is a bit of a kudos thing. You know, it is actually, it's almost like a lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you've got a VA, then you've made it. And it's been like that for a while. I think UK and Europe are kind of getting there, but it's still quite a long way behind the Americans. I mean, I've certainly, from what I know, there are only about 5,000 VAs in the UK. So, you know, we're a long way behind what the Americans are doing.
That's interesting, because certainly when I was in Australia being a VA, VA in Australia was still kind of being considered as something that you outsourced to. It was kind of considered like, if you had a call center based in India, they were calling that kind of outsourcing a VA, which is obviously not the same thing that we're speaking about here. That's more just outsourcing in general.
And I think we've got a long way to go to actually educate the UK sort of business environment as to what a virtual assistant is. I mean, I still get people who think that I'm Alexa. You know, it's kind of, we're still quite a long way behind. So I think, you know, as a VA myself, I'm quite conscious of trying to sort of educate people as much as possible as to what we do, what the benefits of using us are, etc.
And we did go through a phase too. I know when I had my first business and I was living in Australia, and there was lots of talk about kind of the very early phases, this is going back 10 years, to, you know, hiring a VA, and there were lots of books coming out about VAs, and everything I found was kind of getting a VA agency in the Philippines, and it was all about just doing things kind of cheaper and outsourcing to other countries, and it really didn't represent what the VA is now, which is literally just an EA or a PA who is not in your office. So
exactly.
a virtual assistant now is doing everything that a traditional EA or PA would do, but they're doing it from their home or from their own office or whatever it is. Whereas when it first started, it was kind of seen as, oh, well, you're going to just outsource tasks. And I remember being pitched companies like I used to back then pay about, I don't know, 900 Australian dollars or something for a month. And that gave me a certain number of hours. And they'd you'd use something like Basecamp, and you would, which is kind of just a management platform. And I would put tasks in there, like I want blog posts written about X, Y, and Z, or I want some video editing or something like that. And various people from this agency would then do it and mark it as done on the list. And it was a frankly horrible experience. It just wasn't I stopped using it because I found it just didn't work, and it's not at all representative of what being a VA has become, which is just think about, when you're thinking about, there's questions that I can see that we're running out of time for, like a general list of VA duties and what does a VA do. Just think, what does an EA and a PA do? And that's what a VA does. They just do it from home, which is what we are all doing right now anyway. Well, a lot of us. And as far as getting international clients, again, social media, websites, networking, recommendations from other people. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to wrap up a few of these so that we've got time to get to them. And there was, so my concern was the VA market was swamped, but does that not seem to be the case?
Absolutely not. No, it's really immature, Caroline. I mean, honestly, if you're starting a VA business now, it couldn't be a better time. I can just only seeing it getting more and more popular.
And I think you've only got to have a look at the jobs that are on offer at the moment as well, is that more and more companies, because of the pandemic, have gone, you know what, we actually don't need to have somebody in the office all the time. And so many, they're advertising them as EA roles, but they're remote EA roles, which is a VA basically, not a freelance VA, but freelance VA isn't the only way for you to go. You could be doing remote work where you're employed for someone, contract work, you could be going through an agency, or you could be going all the way and doing your own freelance VA business.
And I also, you know, in the sort of, you know, early days, I wasn't shy of applying for PA and EA roles and actually pitching myself as a valid alternative to being a full-time equivalent and winning it. You know, so, and it really is a hugely beneficial way of getting new clients, and it's worked historically.
Are most of your clients small businesses or large global companies?
I've got a real mixture. I've got some big corporates, and I'm VA to sort of CEOs, and then I've got some smaller independent, I've got some family offices, high net worth, and so it's a real mixture. I'm running 10 clients at the moment.
Wow, okay. I have just popped a link in the chat before we go to the EA How To Gin Lounge. It's hosted on Patreon because that's a secure platform that we host all of our events on. There's one coming up on Saturday. It is the second in a series of SharePoint sessions I'm doing. So the first one was all about setting up a SharePoint site. And then the one on Saturday is going to be all about SharePoint document management, which I think is actually going to probably be 2 sessions because I've been preparing it, and document management is a really, really big topic. So we're going to cover all the basics, and I'm going to show you that SharePoint is nowhere near as scary as you think it is, because I hated SharePoint. I thought it was crap. I didn't understand it. And really, I was just being a dingus, and I hadn't actually looked into how to use it, which oddly enough is probably a really good way to learn how to do something, is to not just assume it's crap and to maybe just like look into it a little bit. So I am going to be spreading the good word of SharePoint and teaching you about document management. So if you want to join that, click the link that I've just posted in the chat. Final question before we wrap up, Katie. Any apps, software, hardware, websites or services you can't live without? Give us like a recommendation or two.
Yes. Hours Keeper, which is an app from the App Store, which is how I track my hours for each client. And a new one for me, which is Adobe Scan, which is a PDF scanner on your mobile.
Yeah.
Both brilliant.
And also a new feature, well, relatively new feature in the Microsoft 365, the Microsoft Office app, you also have a scan feature and
Feature in there.
a text, like a copy text feature, which a lot of phones have, but I've noticed in the app it works a lot better. So
Okay.
you can just like have a letter. I'm going to do a video on this to show people. You'll have a letter in front of you, you scan it with your phone and it copies all of the text from that letter, and then you can put it into a Word document or something. So you could take a letter that's been posted to you from your doctor, for instance, scan the text and put it into an email or something to send to somebody.
Brilliant.
Really good. So
Brilliant.
eliminating the scanner, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that 3-in-1 scanner, coming back to, no, forget it. You just need a good color printer.
And your mobile phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, Katie, for doing this again. It's always a pleasure. And this will be recorded so you can go back and catch up if you've missed anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll be doing another session, and we'll do something for our US friends who I know will be watching the replay as well. So
I'd love to do that.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Take
day.
care. Bye.
Bye.